Zombie running the ones and twos.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. So I appreciate you popping on, Joey, today, doing some wrestling talk. It's been a while.
It has been a lot going on.
I feel you mentioned a couple weeks ago that we need to try to do something because even then there was quite a bit going on. But since then, I would dare say even more has blown up. So we can have probably 3 days worth of stuff to discuss that we're going to do tonight. So I'll throw it to you first. What's one of the topics or thoughts going through your mind recently in the wrestling world that you want to discuss, and then we'll just kind of bridge off of that.
Well, kind of came out of nowhere that we could potentially see after 19 years the return of one Stone Cold Steve Austin to the squared circle. And we
Yes,
thought as if that news wasn't enough, less than 24 hours later, Cody Rhodes says, "Hold my beer."
right. That's true. Like who would think that in this world we live in, this today's age, that Cody Rhodes making a decision to go probably back to the WWE actually will have more weight to it and like knock off the Stone Cold news off the news cycle, I guess. Because that had a hot minute going for about a day or so, and then boom, Cody Rhodes, like you said, hold my beer. So for me personally, I think the Stone Cold story is a much bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
For a variety of reasons. But we've talked about this multiple times. You're a big fan of the Attitude Era. That's where Stone Cold became Stone Cold because before that he was stunning Steve Austin,
The
and
ringmaster.
oh yeah, the ringmaster, right?
The
Yeah. And
ringmaster.
so before he really got going in WWF at the time, he he was a name, but he wasn't he was a mid Carter for sure. So then he became big and he had a good run. But then I think, was it 2002 that he left? I think, if I'm not
2000,
mistaken.
I think 2003 was his last match with The Rock at WrestleMania.
2003. Okay.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's been a while. And there was some rumblings over the last few weeks talking about like the whole Kevin Owens like story with starting to run down Texas and people from Texas and shockingly. So what do you think happened? Because let's be honest, Steve Stone Cold has said for 19 years that he's not wrestling anymore. He can't wrestle. He wanted to. It's well documented how much he hated hanging up the boots, let's say, because he still retired pretty young, but he was so hurt and injured medically he couldn't wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
So I know money talks and BS walks. So I'm assuming they threw like ridiculous money at him, but I can't imagine that he's not going to be able to do much. And on top of that, he's like 57 or something, so he's not like he's really young either. So what's your thoughts here? Where do you see this going?
Well, the crazy thing to think about, Jason, is he retired at 39 years old. No, excuse me, 37 years old. 37 years old. That is, it almost seems like that's kind of the median age of wrestlers right now. Um, so it's crazy to think how much bigger he could have gotten, how much more money he could have made, had he been able to, progress his career even just a few more years. But, I think that take a look at Edge coming back with the neck issues, Brian Danielson coming back after the neck issues. A lot of things have been Lita
Sting.
just coming back, Sting. I mean, these people that had at the time career-ending injuries have been able to strengthen themselves. And look at him. I mean, you look at him on his little podcast. I mean, he still looks in phenomenal shape. He
Oh
keeps
yeah.
himself. It's kind of like Mojo Rawley. He doesn't get hyped. He stays hyped. You know what I mean? So, I'll be honest with you. I'm glad. I'm super glad that we're gonna get to see him in the ring again. Uh, I like the Kevin Owens pick. Believe it or not, a lot of folks are saying that it should be a bigger name like a Goldberg, somebody he had never had a match with. But Kevin Owens is a bump machine. He's gonna make Steve Austin look like $1 million. And he's safe. He's not going to do a lot of crazy things. The crazy things are going to be done by Kevin Owens. Stone Cold will be safe through the thing. And my problem with the whole thing, Jason, is the story behind it, dude. You're telling me you had a chance to come back against CM Punk. You could have come back. I mean, you could have come back against any of these big names, but you're going to come back now against Kevin Owens, which is fine. But why? Because Kevin Owens talked bad about Texas? I mean, in 5 minutes, I could come up with a better storyline than that,
If all it takes me is running my mouth about Texas, he might jump through my window right now if I want a match.
Little stunner.
Exactly.
Little stunner.
I'll take that stunner like a son of a bee, I'll do right there.
No, but I mean, think about it. I mean, he's 57, right?
Sure.
Go with the whole Rocky, what was it? Rocky 3, Rocky 4. No, it was Rocky 4 against Drago, the whole beach scene with him and Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
Where he says, "Hey, I'm scared. I'm scared." Well, why are you scared? He could say, "I'm scared of getting injured again," or "I'm scared that I can't be the Stone Cold I used to be." And then build that as the story, and not because Kevin Owens said something about who gives a crap about saying something bad about Texas. That's the most disappointing part of this, if that is indeed what the story is, and it seems like that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, but I will say two things. One is that in this situation involving Stone Cold, the story almost doesn't matter as much as what's going to happen when he gets in the ring. We all know that. But two, in the last 20 years, WWE is not the most known storytellers in the business. So
no,
the fact that he actually is going to have some semblance of a story, apparently, I will say at least is better than half the time that they just throw wrestlers together with no explanation even why or makes any sense. Like when they had Becky Lynch come back as a heel and beat Bianca Belair in like 15 seconds or whatever, and it's like, what is that? Where's that story? There's no story there. Nothing happened, and then they moved on from it. Like it never even So just talking about like another top level match that people were pumped about because Becky had been gone for a year and change or whatever. So it's nowhere near the caliber of Stone Cold, but it's the idea of you have an opportunity to bring somebody back. It's going to be a huge pop, but then there's nothing led up to it and nothing led after it. It was like a one and done 18-second spot, and then we're over it. It kind of buries your girl you kept building up for the last 6 months to a year, and then no payoff for her, and not since either. So, and I just want as many times we could talk about. So I'm sure you probably know more than I do, because I don't keep up with it like religiously in WWE. But those are storylines that don't make sense, and they just, like I said, notorious. They need to bring back Vince Russo. Everybody gets a storyline.
Let me tell you something, brother. You said Attitude Era. He wrote the Attitude Era, and those numbers haven't looked the same since. So
no.
But let me say this.
Sure.
It's not like Stone Cold's never come back at a WrestleMania.
Right.
I mean, he's come back at several WrestleManias. He's hit stunners on several people. For this to be special, it's got to be different. They got to build to a match. It can't be just, hey, the glass breaks. Nobody knew he was coming out. Glass breaks, big pop, comes down, stunner, and it's over with. And that's why I'm saying that this whole Texas thing is not much of a foundation to build a storyline. Now, you're right. When it's time for that match to happen and that glass breaks and he comes out in Dallas, that place is going to erupt. But how much better could it be?
Oh, sure.
If they had and think about this too. Ultimately, why are they bringing him back? Ultimately, why are they bringing him back? To fill the place up, right? They got to sell tickets for 2 nights.
Yeah.
To AT&T Stadium. When are they going to announce this officially? Because tickets have been on sale for a while. And if your goal is to sell tickets and sell that place out, you need to go ahead and announce it, make it known, and start the storytelling,
Yeah, I will say that what I'm counting on, maybe what we're going to get, I could be wrong, is Stone Cold coming out to Kevin Steen, no, just Kevin, whatever his name is, I forgot all his Owens. I forgot what his name is on WWE. He comes out looking for him. All of a sudden, we have like a WCW, but it's an AEW like invasion. Stardust jumps out of the crowd and he gets stunned right on the ramp. Exactly. And then he goes back to AEW.
The whole thing was a work, bro.
The whole thing was a work, right. They're like, it's a crazy fan. First like Stardust, like, oh my gosh, it's actually Cody Rhodes.
He rips his shirt off and he's got the AEWs.
Exactly.
That would be great.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so I honestly think that yes, it's pretty awesome. I don't have any faith in WWE, and I haven't for a long time, to do right by the wrestlers, and more importantly, do right by the fans to make it something special. I hope I'm wrong.
Me too.
But they have not done anything in the better part of 2 decades that makes me say they're going to handle this well.
Hey, by the way,
huh?
Indiana sucks.
Indiana? Why? What happened with Indiana?
And people from Indiana suck.
Dude, don't even start talking. I know you're one of Georgia crackers, but you know what? I'm an Indiana Hoosier.
I'm just saying, if me talking about people from Indiana is enough for a brawl, so be it. Let's do this.
Yeah, dude. Ruby Soho, Lafayette, Indiana, baby. Talking about another AEW grab that's been a tremendous for us, and WWE just shows that they didn't know what they had with her. Mm-hmm. She just, every time she comes out, dude, the entire place goes nuts. Even when she's doing like AEW Dark and Elevation, like she's like, it's like much smaller outcomes. I mean, people are just losing their minds. Yep. So it's just, that just shows you again the totally different kind of wrestling fans that are the 2 promotions have. I think it's totally different. So, but before we get on to something like that, you did mention, we talked about, we kind of alluded to Cody Rhodes with that storyline, both back to back. So I think the whole world, wrestling world, was completely caught off guard. No one woke up on Tuesday, that last Tuesday or whatever, and said Cody Rhodes is leaving AEW. No one had that on their things that are going to happen list. So what was your initial thoughts there, knowing that just the week before that, he just did a banger of a match with Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
And everything looked like it was on the up and up moving forward. They had that TV show on TNT. He's an EVP. He's doing all this goodwill promotion with all these like groups, like third party groups, like the cancer societies and the heart foundations and all this kind of stuff. So he's like really deep into all these and things that he just bumped in this ups and leagues. Like, what was your initial thoughts there?
I was floored. I was shocked because if you think about it, Cody Rhodes really did the Drew McIntyre thing. He went somewhere else.
That's true. Yeah.
He got himself over bigger than he ever was in several places. Japan.
That's true.
Impact, Ring of Honor. I mean, he pretty much went everywhere, got himself over. The birth of AEW was at that All In show.
Yeah,
that first
All In show.
Yeah, that first one.
The one that Ring of Honor helped him put on.
Yeah, I mean, he is in essence, he is one of the he's one of the heartbeats of AEW, and he is by far the first major piece to maybe go the other way. I think he'll be bigger in WWE than he was before, and that's not saying much because
Right.
he was effing Stardust, for crying out loud. But I don't know. I've often wondered, was it creative differences? Was it just money? Because if you remember, I thought it was kind of interesting. Tony Khan put out the tweet or put out an official statement or whatever, and it was how he signed his name at the bottom of it. Tony Khan, blah, 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 head of creative for AEW, almost like that was a little
Right.
jab or something. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. We'll find out one day. I would be curious to find out what was going on backstage, but yeah. He's now referred to as what's his face.
Yeah, that was nice. Jericho throwing out a couple of haymakers there.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, yesterday, and I'm sure it'll happen more, or on Wednesday. I'm sure it'll happen more tonight and moving forward. There'll be a little. Well, I don't know if you watched BTE because Matt and Nick Jackson, they did their intro like they do with their video. They were like, okay, we got to talk about something big. Everybody wants to know. And then they talked about something totally different. They're talking about their shoes get lost
or something. Their luggage,
right? Yeah, their shoes get lost in the airport or whatever. So they're definitely aware and having fun with it or whatever. But my thinking is like you said. I mean, really, at the end of the day, none of us really know. We all know that. But and like you said, also we're gonna find out eventually. That's just the way the wrestling world works. Everybody wants to do a shoot video or shoot a podcast eventually because they know that's a big payday for them or whatnot when they finally decide to do it. If that's next month, if that's next year or 10 years or whatever, these are the kind of things that these wrestlers do because they know there's an audience for that type of thing for all the diehard fans. But I think we can also understand a little bit that from what everybody else has said or what they're not saying, also is kind of what's going on. And so my thinking is that he really must think that he must have got a real sweetheart deal from Vince that he's not going to be able to be used in some kind of joke role like he used to be, and he must have had to be able to sign on the dotted line that he's not going to be turned back into a Stardust or some kind of goofy character, because regardless of how he felt about AEW towards the end, he had a pretty sweet gig. Like he was having great matches. He does a great. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan at all. I don't really like Cody Rhodes, quite frankly, but I like what he does in the ring. But I do enjoy that. He can cut a pretty great promo, generally speaking, when he's not talking about political stuff or like bringing stuff like that into the realm. That's what really got people turned on him. I can guarantee you, point to that promo when he was doing the Anthony Ogogo promo, that when people turned on him like big time, because everybody didn't like Brandy already, but that really turned everybody on him. And ever since then, he never fully recovered from that. And then he leaned in on it, and then he leaned in it. So I mean, he owned a lot of that too, and he understood. He did a podcast about 3 months ago where he still regrets a lot of what happened there. So I get all that, but that's really where the audience turned on him. But that didn't stop him from doing great matches, but whatever. My thinking is that the combination of, losing the EVP power that he had before, losing a lot of the creative, and then not being paid as like Danielson and Punk, that I feel like, he was like, well, maybe I can get better pay with Vince. And Vince probably had to agree not to, I would assume, not turn him into a joke. Because why would you go back? Yeah, you get paid, let's say $3 million or whatever. Maybe he throws at you. I don't know what that number might look like, but then he gets turned back into Stardust, and he's a mid-carder, and he gets jobbed out to Roman Reigns like right out of the gate. I don't see how that's going to benefit him at all.
Yeah, no, and that would not be what's best for business.
Right.
To steal a cliche there, but I agree that I think the money is substantially larger. I mean, WWE has brought they're having their best financial times right now. Worst creative times by far, but
Right.
but best economic, times, which I can't figure it out. It seems like you'd be
And I can
making
tell
more
you,
money.
Saudi Arabia.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's it, because it's not the ratings. Fewer people are watching WWE than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree that there's some kind of stipulation in his contract that they can't miss. I think Vince can do whatever the crap he wants to do with Cody Rhodes. And I think there's got to be some faith there that he's going to take care of him. But in the end, I mean, if Vince wanted to turn him back into Stardust, I think he would. And based on the number of zeros on that check, Cody'd be like, well, whatever. I guess eventually, do you get to the point in your career where it is really all about the money and whatever? And if you get paid enough, I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
I guess. I mean, but that also tells me that everything he said for the last 3 years with AEW was just a bunch of horse crap, because he went in hard on Triple H. He went in hard on the McMahon family. He went on hard with the product, everything about, everything, the way they treated the wrestlers, the way they treated, like, how they handled their business and all that stuff. So that tells me, and again, that was him talking as a person, not a wrestler, and then using that also as a wrestler gimmick as well. And I understand nothing's, never say never in wrestling. I get all that kind of stuff. I get it, but it goes to show you that nothing he says moving forward, you'll put any faith in me. Like, he's just a complete sellout. And like you said, it all that matters about the zeros at the back of the check, and that to me takes away from the stuff that he's been doing, all the promos he was cutting, breaking the big chair, the big royal chair with their hammer, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it just kind of takes, a lot of the piss out of it, quite frankly, because then it's like, dude, you are a walking gimmick yourself. Like, none of that stuff you said had any real weight to it. You're playing a character. You're being a gimmick. This was just all part of the plan or whatever. That's fine, but don't go around acting like that. Don't try to do the kayfabe thing, and then and be like, oh, this is shoot, this is kayfabe, this is a shoot, and then go as soon as somebody dangles a little bit extra, couple dollars on you, you're like, oh, okay, well, everything I said for the last 3 years, literally, all that was just a bunch of crap. I don't like that. I mean, that's why I respect there's a lot of wrestlers out there who don't do that. They refuse to play those games. CM Punk, Bret Hart. There's a lot of those guys who just aren't going to play those kind of games. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, he's living his gimmick all the way to the bank. So I mean, there's that. But I understand what you're saying. Here's what I'm interested to see. Number one, who's that first opponent? Because what the sheets have said is that Vince promised him a high-profile match at WrestleMania. And I don't know if you have been watching. Did you happen to see Edge's promo? Was it on?
Yeah.
Where he had said something and he said the word phenomenal and kind of winked like it was an homage to AJ, like maybe it was AJ and him at WrestleMania. But then he used the word undeniable. And if you remember that famous Cody promo where he says, I'm un-GD deniable,
maybe it'll be a three-way.
It could be a three-way. It could be.
AEW or WWE likes doing three-ways. So
they are not ashamed or afraid.
That would be awesome. That would be a great match. And like I said, I don't like Cody as a person necessarily. I don't like him as a wrestling personality per se either. But as a wrestler, I respect him in the ring. Like, he is a fantastic wrestler. He knows how to wrestle. He knows how to sell. He knows how to help out the younger talent. I mean, look at what he did for Guevara, Kingston, Darby Allin. I mean, these guys were just, that dog collar match he had with Brody Lee. I mean, all that stuff, dude. I mean, he's been fantastic. I mean, like I said, in the ring, that guy's legit. I do enjoy him, but like I said, I mean, I can take the two and separate them. A lot of people can't. but I can separate the two different things. So,
well,
so that's cool. So yeah.
Yeah, the Bucks aren't the only ones trolling. Did you hear Miz's promo?
Yeah, he said something about. Did he say something about dashing or something? Yeah,
he was getting ready to introduce his mystery opponent or his mystery tag team partner for WrestleMania, and he's dashing.
Right.
Just so he's trolling. They all are.
Yeah, but I think you feel the same way. Maybe I can't remember. I like that type of AEW, WWE, like throwing light jabs and some shade at each other, like inside winks, because I mean, if you saw the Kingston, the promo he cut on Chris Jericho, do you remember that? And he goes, I don't want the mimosa Jericho. I want the one that the Levesque who hated you promo wrestler. I was like, here we go.
I can't believe I'm saying this, Jason, after watching that last episode of Dynamite, that MJF had the second best promo of the night.
Yeah.
Behind the Jericho Kingston back and forth. I thought that was the best thing on the show.
What up, fellas?
Yeah, I agree.
What up?
See, I'm not seeing him. Can you hear him?
Yeah, I see him and hear him.
I don't see him or hear him. It must be something on mine. I'm gonna see if I can leave and come back, and it'll let me. Okay.
All right.
What's going on, dude?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good to meet you on here.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Lord, look at all that. Look at all that wall art behind you.
All right.
Yeah, there's a little bit back there.
Yeah.
What's up?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. This is the holy trinity of wrestler talk right here. I gotta say so myself.
Hell yeah.
What music do you think he's going to come out to, Jason?
Who are we talking about? I'm sorry.
Is WWE going to let Cody use his indie music?
I don't know. Maybe he'll come out to Punk's music.
Definitely don't come out to the Dashing Cody Rhodes theme.
He'll come out to his dad as the polka dot one.
Do you know there's people out there that believe that Vince is going to make him wear polka dots, and there's people out there that think that this is a work, like that somehow this whole thing is a work, and he's going to show up on AEW again.
I don't know. All I know is that if it's a work,
surprised, so if whatever happens, in my opinion. That's how where I'm at.
For me personally, if it's a work, I liked it. But that's the thing. Like, I was watching the new episode. I don't know if you follow Matt Hardy, but he has a YouTube channel that he does once every Friday morning. He releases a new episode that's a podcast.
Yeah.
And he makes a mention, and I really respect this because I agree. He goes, there are some wrestling fans who take things so far that they just don't enjoy the product anymore because they want to be too smart. They don't want to sit back and just let things happen, let it wash over you, to just kind of lose yourself in the match or in the promos or in the storylines and all that. And like that's the thing is like I'm not trying. If I get worked, I want to get worked. So if I get worked by Cody Rhodes or anybody, you know what? Good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah.
I don't want. I'm okay because Matt Hardy said, and I agree that like certain areas of the country, whenever he has wrestled, he could tell like the fans. They're more interested in trying to figure out the work or figure out what's going on than just letting the match happen in front of them. Yeah. And they said, parts of the South, he was talking about Connecticut in general, like he doesn't like to wrestle in Connecticut because they're too smart for their own good, kind of thing. Where he goes, if you go to the South and the Midwest and places like that, the fans are just like lose themselves and they get so excited, and I can see that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What about you, Steve? Where are you at with the whole like Cody Rhodes and all that? Where are you at with the whole thing? Because that's kind of where we left off.
I don't really think it's a work. I think he legit left, and
Yeah.
Whether or not he goes to WWE, I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah. I mean, kind of be cool to see. I don't know. I don't know what WWE would do with him though. Like WWE's kind of so screwed up nowadays. It's like it's just hard to watch. Like I can only watch like certain segments, and I just like got to click out of it.
Yeah,
it's really hard to.
I never
AEW, I can sit there from top to bottom and just go through it like nothing.
I never watch it live. I'll go on my DVR so I can fast forward, so I can hit Roman segments, Brock segments.
I love the new man.
Brock Lesnar might be doing his best work
ever
right now.
Ever.
Yeah, Cowboy Brock Lesnar.
Dude,
people want to boo him, but they know that he's just doing too damn good to boo. Like you can tell people want to boo him at times. Like
he's so dang likable now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's coming out with the cowboy. It kind of reminds me of when JBL first started coming out with his old cowboy gimmick, and he'd take his hat off and wave it to the crowd and stuff. You know, people hated that, but I mean, Brock doing it, he came out looking like he was wearing a freaking I don't know what you call them things, ponchos, and it was crazy. It was just
them overalls.
Overalls,
yeah. Like he don't give. Apparently, he don't give an F what people think. He's gonna come out. He is himself right now. I mean, he is more himself than he's ever been. And man, I'm loving his work right now.
Apparently, that's why he was so pissed off before, because he wanted to talk. That's just rumors I've heard. Like he was so irritated with the company, it just wasn't fun. Like standing there, like with Paul Heyman talking. So yeah, I love it.
Well, since we're talking about Brock, Jason, Steve, we've got and this may be the last WWE talk we have on, tonight, but you got a title unification match. You still got two separate brands, but you're going to have a title unification match. One champion, both shows. I mean, is that the direction they're going in now?
I think so, but I don't like it. I don't know.
Or are they going to go? Are they going to get rid of the two brands since they're not doing house shows anymore, and they're going to have? They're just going to have one. People are going to be on both shows.
It's possible.
I feel like they're going to have to, because their shows are suffering because they don't have enough wrestlers on either show, and so
that people care anything about watching.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That people care anything about watching. You're right.
Right. No one cares about. Okay, first of all, no one cares about either product really, especially Raw. SmackDown has a little bit better ratings, generally speaking. I know Raw's been doing a little bit better recently, but it's been suffering for years. But then they've gotten rid of almost all their talent. They've gutted the rest of their talent out, or they jobbed them out to like 3 or 4 of their stars, and then everybody else is kind of they do the exact same matches every week with the exact same people every week. Like, it's not even an exaggeration. It's like literally that's what they're doing. Yeah. And so it's not like people are like, oh, you're just exaggerating. Like, no. Go back and look over the last year or 6 months. It's the exact same wrestlers wrestling the exact same wrestlers and the exact same storylines every single week. And, I mean, nothing's changed. So I think it's probably for the best that they can have a Monday night and a Friday night or whatever. They can still call it whatever they want to call it, but it's not two different brands. It just they have matches and they just have a continual storyline through both shows and put everybody together. To me, that makes the most sense, because at least at that point, you're going to have more storylines you can work from.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because, I mean, like I said, I don't watch it religiously, but there's only a handful of, like, you also like the Brock Lesnar stuff, the Roman Reigns stuff, the RK Bro stuff. Like, that's about the only couple of things I can think of that's kind of over. The stuff with Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey are kind of big because they're big. So a lot of stuff they're doing gets people excited. I'm not saying the storylines when I say that great, but they come out and people get pumped, So you have that going on. But outside of, Charlotte Flair's always like kind of hanging around. She's a heat magnet as well, so that helps a lot. But outside of that, but you're talking about 5 hours of entertainment between those two shows, and we're talking about like less than a half dozen wrestlers, really. Maybe 10 wrestlers out of a 5 hour show. That's not a lot of talent that you can like build off of. You've got to do better than that.
Yeah, I agree.
I am excited about the Charlotte Ronda fight, though. I think that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I really hope Ronda can get in better shape because you can tell in the Royal Rumble she was gassed, like super gassed. She just had a kid, 4 months ago?
Yeah. I went back and watched her her first match when her and Kurt teamed up against against Stephanie. And she's caught on pretty quick. And I hope she can get back to that.
I'm looking forward to a Ronda versus Jade Cargill match.
What's Jade Cargill 28-0 right now? Is she going?
28-0, baby. Yeah. She's doing the Undertaker thing right now. So she's going where he didn't lose. He didn't lose for like what 17 or 27 or 20, however many.
And have any of her matches gone past 5 or 6 minutes?
I feel like she's had one or two that were longer matches. The one with Ruby Soho went quite a while longer, and the one she did with the Bunny, it would have probably about 5, maybe 6 or 7 minutes, I would say. But that was a lot more physical match than she's had in a while. So I'll give her that. They're doing some more stuff with her.
Well, let's just all agree that they are protecting her.
Oh,
big time.
Oh, for sure. But let's be honest. This is her only. I think she's going into her first full year of wrestling.
Right.
And yes, is she green? Yes. Does she still need work? Of course. But you can't deny that she has so many tangibles that a lot of the wrestling will just keep getting. I would agree. I would feel like better and better as more opportunity she gets. Like from where she started out and where she's at right now, I see a huge difference. In her ability. But honestly, when you see her walk out, it's like China all over again. Like you're just like, this person, there is no woman in real life that would be able to beat her. So they're doing the right thing by making her like a monster. But eventually she's going to have a match where she's going 12, 15, 18 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. And really show what she can do, and not these like 4 to 6 minute matches.
Right.
Because, you got to be able to be a true believer, and eventually you're going to have somebody who's going to, and maybe that's the match she loses. That's fine. Maybe that would be the storyline. They took her to the limit. They figured her out, whatever that storyline could be, and kind of like, then they, could do that. I don't think they need to do it right now, but I do think it needs to happen eventually. But right now, I feel like when she walks out, like you people get excited, so you don't want to take that away quite yet.
Agreed.
So let me ask you all this. We kind of talk about WWE a lot, but let's talk about WWE. But we're going to do on the flip side. So now Jeff Hardy will be coming to AEW. And what do you all think about that?
I like it. I don't know if I see him in like any kind of title pictures, but I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see something different.
Yeah, he'll get that. I guess maybe him and Matt will get that one last run together. I was lucky enough to be at WrestleMania 33 down in Orlando when they were the surprise tag team.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would have been cool.
That roof just blew off.
It was unbelievable, and because they had just had a ladder match like the night before with an indie promotion, and WrestleMania weekend, all the indies, they take all these shows to wherever WrestleMania is at, so you can see all these different shows from all these different companies. And so everybody knew they were there. Nobody had any idea that the WWE had gone ahead and signed them. And then they won the belts. So to to see them together again, maybe one last time, would be cool because they need to do something. This whole Hardy,
It's
whatever
not working.
the heck, Hardy family, whatever they're calling it, it's lame, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
It's lame.
Big time.
They need to have Matt go back to being woken, or broken, or whatever you want to call it, something, or put him and Jeff back together and let them go on a run. But yeah, I'm not super impressed by this latest run.
Yeah, and Matt Hardy talks about that, and that's the one thing I appreciate about Matt Hardy and AEW for that matter. Like, they let their wrestlers talk about how they're not happy in their certain capacities or what they do like or don't like. Or in WWE, they muzzle their wrestlers, so they really can't say anything. Everything has to be like, cotton candy and daffodils and stuff. But with AEW, like, he's not running it into the ground, but he's just like, he doesn't feel like it's over. He can feel the audience isn't there, the fans isn't there. He feels like, it doesn't, like, there's not a lot of, it doesn't make sense. And he talks about that, which I like that about it. And I agree that if they just would have kept it with Hardy Party, with him and Private Party as their like kind of heel manager, I thought that was actually going pretty well. I like that because he was playing like that heel manager. He kind of helped out some. He wrestled with them. Sometimes he just was their manager. He was involved in their matches. But then all of a sudden they started introducing all this other, the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, and H2 or whatever. And then they were expanding that, and then now they introduced Andrade, which I do like the thing they're doing with Andrade a little bit, where he's like trying to talk to like Darby Allin like he's like a little kid. Like I don't know what that's about, but that's actually kind of funny. I was like, he doesn't understand the concept that like Sting's like his dad or something or whatever. So like that stuff's actually kind of funny. So I appreciate that. But I do agree with both what you all were saying. Like, Matt Hardy 8 months ago, had said many times that him and Jeff want to have one more run as a Hardy Boys, and that they want to have one more run as the tag team champs and all that. And at the time, you would think that's not going to happen for quite a while. You're just like, it's not realistic because Jeff's tied up in WWE, blah, blah, blah. And I honestly thought Matt would be going back to the WWE, so I thought was going to happen eventually. But I mean, now everything happened. So I see everything he's been talking about is going to happen. I mean, and you got to think about the tag teams that are in WWE right now, or I'm sorry, AEW. Matt and Jeff are going to have some hell of some banger matches. Can you imagine them in the same ring with the Lucha Bros? Oh my gosh. In there with the Young Bucks, you got them in there, FTR. I mean, there are so many great matchups going on, and I'm not mentioning everybody. There's a ton of great tag teams over there. So, I mean, those are 3 or 4 right off the top of my head that are going to be great. So, I mean, I definitely see that as an option for them, for sure. I mean, I would like to see them wrestle, have somewhere that they get Christian in a match. That would be fun for the fans back in the day, that all 3 of them in a match together in some capacity. So I do think Matt's turning back to a baby face, because Andrade's going to, they're already sowing those seeds in the last couple episodes of, Private Party's lining more with Andrade because he helped him get the win. And Matt Hardy's erratic. He has this erratic behavior, and he's like leaving them. So you already know what's happening. It's just already they're laying the groundwork.
They're slowly building up.
What was that, Steve?
They're slowly building up the.
Yeah, so Otto said, isn't Sting his granddad? Yes.
Probably old enough to be.
So I'm excited about the Jeff Hardy thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I met Sting at Comic-Con, man, and that was like it wasn't his fault, because Comic-Con is just like they shove you through a line, and like I was trying to record a little bit, like before we went back through the curtain to take a picture, and the dude like cut me off with my camera. Then I got up to the table, which I have the video on YouTube, and like they didn't know I was recording, but he didn't say a word to me other than thank you. Like, it was super underwhelming, I guess you could say.
Wow, that's unfortunate to hear, because I really want to meet Sting. I'm like, he's one of the few wrestlers, like old school wrestlers.
Yeah, a lot of people have had good experiences, but it was super hot in that the Philadelphia Convention Center, and he had his paint and everything on, and it was like starting to run down his face. Like he had a jacket on. Like, yeah, there's no way he could have been comfortable. He looked miserable.
Yeah, and I might have. And everybody, we're all humans. We forget sometimes. Not saying you, but I think we as fans, as a whole, forget that these people. They're real people, and they have.
Yeah, he wasn't mean at all.
They have real emotions and real feelings and everything else. And like you said, maybe he just was miserably hot, and he just was not feeling it. Maybe he had a bad taco for lunch. Who knows? And he just was like, trying to get through the day. So I agree. Years ago, I met Chris Jericho at a horror film convention, and he was a complete dick, and I was not a fan at all. It was like shocking, and how much it must have been like right after he left the first time. It was like 2005-ish, I bet, or 2006. Yeah. He must have left WWE around that time, right before he maybe went to Japan or whatever he did. And he, I guess, was doing some of these horror movie film conventions because he's dabbled in some films over the years. And also, wrestling and horror somehow always go together. I don't really know why that's the case, but you can get wrestlers into a horror convention. It doesn't feel weird. Like they got a ton of people who come to those shows. They'll see them at a convention from film. So I don't know why that works. Whatever. And I'll never forget, like the whole time Jericho was there, he was on his phone. He was ignoring the fans. He didn't even have really a handler or nothing. He just would I'd walk up to him. I'm like, hey, how you doing, Mr. Jericho, whatever, Chris? And he just was like, he just had no time for you. He didn't even know your name. He listened to you long enough to give you your name to write it down. That'd be it. He never said thank you. He never said like kiss my butt. Never, nothing. He just, you made the list. Nothing.
Such a Judas.
Yeah. So I definitely had some of those experiences, like that. I mean, now I didn't get Chris Jericho's autograph at the time because I was never been a huge Jericho fan, but I witnessed it for the whole weekend of him just blowing fans off. Yeah. So I was like, wow. Maybe he's changed. I mean, he was a younger guy back then. That was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, he was a hothead back.
Yeah, maybe he was real sour that he thought he deserved more, and he got let go by WWE or whatever the case may be. So maybe he just was like bad grapes or sour grapes. But maybe he's a totally different person now. But I just remember like being completely like you said, underwhelmed by the experience.
Yeah, Sting was by far not mean at all. Like. He talked to my wife, which was, at least cool to see that part. So,
you should have been like, if you talk to my wife again, we'll give you a Stinger splash. See how you like that. So I know that you and I talked, Steve, off camera before, and I don't know if Joey's ever heard this before, but I want to hear it. We talked about a negative experience, not negative, but like you said, underwhelming experience. However, that was not the experience with one and only Roddy Piper.
Oh, man.
So, can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so it's 2 weeks before he passed away. I know his last show was at Maryland Championship Wrestling, and we had met him here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It used to be called LCW, I think. I forget, man. It's been, but yeah, he was awesome, man. We met before that. We met Shane Douglas. I don't know if you remember Snitsky from back in the day.
Gene
Snitsky, yeah.
Dude, yeah, that name sounds familiar, but I can't put my finger on how I know it.
I remember him punting Lita's baby into
Lita. It wasn't my fault.
Pat McAfee punting that thing into the crowd.
Oh my god! Yeah, and then we met Piper, and like you couldn't ask for like such a nicer dude, man. That was like, I was actually like I don't normally get that starstruck, but I was really starstruck because he was super genuinely nice and just took his time with everybody. His son was trying to rush him though. His son, I think it's Colt. His name was Colt, but
Yeah.
he was trying to rush him through, and he wasn't having none of it. Like, he's like, bullshit, I'm taking my time, and he took his good old time, man, and that was cool to see. But yeah, that was one of the second to last event before he passed. So, and we almost didn't go, so it was cool to that we did. I mean, that I have that memory because.
So, Steve, you said you're from Lancaster?
Yeah.
All right. So I've been through there, and we ate at like one of the best. It was like a meat and two places, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. But they had like clothes you could put on and take pictures and stuff.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, I get excited about food, and it was.
No, I understand.
It was tremendous.
Shady Maple?
It may have been. Anyway.
It is huge. Like, that place is.
Yeah, this was a big place.
Yeah, it's a big tourist attraction. The food's really good. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff there, man. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was fantastic stuff. It's on my only time through Pennsylvania.
But it won't be your last.
It probably will be my last.
Oh man, I'm trying to hook up a road trip. You come by and pick me up on the way to Steve's house. So,
well,
but
maybe. Never.
But I will tell you, and I've shared this story before, so I won't get into it. I think you probably both have heard it, or you maybe heard me mention it at some point. But I also had an amazing meeting with Piper as well. I think probably the year before he passed, or a year or two before. So it was towards the end of his career, or end of his life for sure. And it was at a horror convention. Again, it wasn't a wrestling convention. He was at a horror convention because, again, with Piper, it makes more sense. I mean, he was in They Live. He was in Night. Something comes to Frogtown. There's a couple things he's done with like horror movie type things. So with him, it makes more sense. And exactly like you said, he had all the time in the world for the fans. I'm getting ready to go to my first couple wrestling conventions next month. They're kind of back to back. They're like on opposite weekends. Thank goodness they're not on the same weekend.
Yeah.
But they're both about an hour from my house in two different directions. And I don't know if I'm gonna have enough money to get everybody because it just happens to be like so many great guys and gals. And they're having one has a lot of the newer guys and gals, and the other one has more of the legends. So It's going to be like hard for me to pick like where I want to spend my money because it's like the legends maybe because we don't know how much time they're going to have, but then the new ones, they're still on the up and coming, but they get mega hot. They might not do these shows for forever, so they might not come back around again. So it's like sometimes it's hard to determine which ones you want to grab. But with Piper, he was amazing. He was just such a great guy. Again, with him personally, he put his arm around me. He gave me some words of encouragement, just like a great guy. Shook my hand. I mean, it was like a great experience. And they want to try to charge you for a picture and an autograph, so you had to pick one or the other or pay the double for both. And he was like, "Don't worry, the picture's up here with your head, Jason. You'll always have that," or something like that, which was so cool of him.
Yeah.
He was just like such a great guy. He wasn't about the money. He was about the experience because he could have easily been like, "Come on, dude, just $20 more." Like what is that? Like I'm kind of the big deal or whatever. But he was like so humble. So it was awesome. So,
yeah. I didn't expect that at all.
No. And then the opposite, I've shared this before too, but I know we can all go, I'm sure we can all do this, but it's so funny because with Piper, I wasn't as starstruck because he was so approachable. But then about 2 years ago, and I've shared this before, and I won't get deep into it, but I met Jake the Snake Roberts. I was like so intimidated because not only was he like this mega heel in the 80s and then in the 90s, like when I met him, he was just like so stone faced, like no emotion, and he was kind of hustling like his like autographs and his like wares, and it was more like buy stuff from me than like, hey, great, thanks for coming out to the kid. He was doing a comedy show, so instead of it being more like, hey man, thanks for coming out to the comedy show, he was like, "Hey, buy this autograph. You're only gonna have a few more minutes before I stop signing." And it felt odd. So,
Yeah, I didn't have a good experience with him at all. He was drunk though. I will say that he was completely toasted.
was that years ago or
2014, so it was right around the time that the whole resurrection thing I think started, like was in the process. Oh, no, 2013. It's 2013. So
well, speaking of the resurrection of Jake the Snake, that's when I got to meet Jake Roberts. So we all three have met the Snake Man. When you said he was stone faced, I wanted to ask you, do you mean stoned or stone faced?
I think it was stone faced.
But so me and my buddy, this was the premiere of the Resurrection of Jake the Snake movie, and it was in Atlanta. They had him, Diamond Dallas Page, their
What about
producer.
Razor?
No, he wasn't there. I wish he was there. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
They put on a special showing, like a private showing of the Resurrection of Jake the Snake, and then afterwards had a little meet and greet. So I got to meet him and Diamond Dallas Page at the same time, and they were really cool. They were really cool.
that's
awesome.
That's after he got cleaned up, you know.
That's good. Yeah, because I'll be right back.
I met Lex Luger. I met Lex Luger in a Sonny's barbecue.
Oh, really? But not the Sonny, a Sonny's barbecue.
a Sonny's barbecue.
Right.
Matter of fact, it was him and, ready for this name, Nikita Koloff.
Really? I think they're both Christians, so they must have been hanging out. So
they were, and oddly enough, Nikita Koloff, not a Russian.
Right. Shocking.
He had more of a Southern accent than I did.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. So, what was it? What were they really cool and approachable?
Well, you know, I felt weird because they were eating, but I did introduce myself as a big fan, so they took pictures and stuff. So they were gracious enough. They were gracious enough.
Was he in a wheelchair at the time or no?
No, this was before he had gotten into that rough shape.
There you go.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh,
thank you,
man.
Are you still completely anti-baseball stuff now, Jason? Still?
Of course, dude. I can't tell you a single thing about sports, dude. Any sport. I have literally no idea. So,
I was gonna say all this lockout stuff is probably just reinforced everything that you.
Yeah,
definitely is helping. A lot.
No, I didn't know Abdullah had a restaurant in Atlanta. I had no idea. Abdullah
the Butcher?
I guess Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah, he had a barbecue restaurant, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Because I sent and got autographs from him at his restaurant years ago, at his restaurant address.
I wonder if you eat a certain something off the menu, if you get a free fork to go home.
Yeah, he signs a fork and sends it to you, whatever. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Or do you have to get juice if you can't finish your meal? You know.
Yeah, Otto said yes. He went there.
Your head up.
Well, it's funny. My son watched the most recent barbecue and Chinese. That's what he said. Yep, that's what I thought. So, so my son watched the 2 weeks ago, the Hangman Adam Page, Lance Archer, Texas Death Match or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
And Lance Archer pulls out the fork, but you know the way he holds the fork, as you just say, like the prongs are inside the hand, but you know you still think he's stabbing him in the head with it, you know. And my son was so freaked out by that. He's 13. I thought he'd be like, "Oh, it's all fake," whatever. And he was like, "Are you serious, Dad? Is he stabbing him in the face with a fork?" And I'm like, "No, he's not stabbing him in the face with a real fork, son." But that's good because they're doing a good job selling it. Because it's right in front of your face, and you're thinking he's stabbing the dude in the face with a fork, and blood's going everywhere and all that stuff. But I go, no, he's not. In this situation, no. A lot of other situations, they really do stab each other with forks, but not here. So
Can we,
Yeah.
since you mentioned Adam Page, can we all three agree that the Adam Page World Championship experiment has run its course?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'll lose it at Revelation. Who's he? Adam? Oh no, he won't. I do not hope Adam Cole wins it off of him. It needs to be the next, whoever the next person up. I do not like Adam Cole. So
I bet it will be Adam Cole though.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh my gosh, you're probably right, but I really don't want it to be.
Baby.
Yeah, I do not like that, because then the people who I really want to see get it, like Bryan Danielson or CM Punk or fill in the blank, anybody else almost, I just don't like it. Like ever since MJF started calling Adam Cole dad bod, I'm like, that's all I can see now. That's all I can see. Like, and then there was like even signs last week that had signs that says Adam Cole has a dad bod, like in the audience, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so true.
He does.
I'm like, it's so hilarious. So
I do like the little storyline that they're doing with the Bucks and the Red Dragons and Adam Cole. That's gonna end up leading to some good matches.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm gonna be super disappointed if Adam Cole becomes a new champ. There are so many more people that are more deserving of that right now than Adam Cole, quite frankly. And honestly, he hasn't really done. I mean, in my opinion, I've seen all his matches recently. I'm not been that impressed with Adam Cole. Like I was expecting it to be like, I mean, everybody made such a big deal about him coming over, and like it was just gonna be like, real like a game changer. I'm just kind of like almost every match he's had, there's been interference. Like just kind of like Britt Baker, honestly. Almost every single one of her matches have been interference. Like it's kind of like loses steam for me. Like he hasn't really had a match where he hasn't had some sort of like shenanigans, and I don't feel like. I mean, he's a good wrestler, I guess, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I just don't get excited. He's kind of like Adam Hangman Page. Like Adam, he's a great wrestler. I like him. I mean, he does a good job. Like he's 100% believable, but I don't find him charismatic enough to like get care. And Adam Cole kind of, I mean, yeah, he's more charismatic for sure, but I'm just not invested in that. Whatever his storyline is right now, like I just almost like, I feel like there needs to be another couple of months of him kind of building the whole Red Dragon Young Buck storyline with and then Kenny Omega coming back, because that's happening, and then they can all kind of break out and do stuff. I feel like that would have more momentum, but I kind of feel like the whole Adam Cole Adam Page thing kind of came out of the blue. Also, it doesn't really make to me. It didn't really make a lot of sense. It was just like all of a sudden he just shows up walking down the ramp 3 weeks ago, and he's just like, I'll be your next challenger after Lance Archer. Where did that come from?
Well, then you had didn't Page and Bryan Danielson have a match for the title? Didn't Page and Danielson have a match for the title?
Yeah, didn't they have two?
Or two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. One went to what was the time limit? The
first one was time limit.
Yeah, one was the time limit, and then Danielson lost to Page.
That's
the second right round. So real quick, Otto said, I don't want to get too far off the beaten path, because I just want to real quick. Otto said my wife and I were afraid of the food we just had in the hamburgers, talking about Abdullah's restaurants. And then he goes, yes, I'll be the fourth to agree with that. I'm not about what,
probably about
I guess Adam Cole.
Yeah.
They should somehow get MJF so Orlo can take it from him. Yes. So I get into MJF. So yeah, I agree. I think the MJF becoming a champ makes more sense after this whole thing with Punk. That thing with Punk right now is so awesome. Dude. Good. Oh my gosh.
So good.
I think they have so many great promo guys right now in AEW. Like, I mean, literally, you can give the mic to so many people, and it's so believable. I mean, Jericho, Kingston, we're talking about Jericho, Kingston, MJF, Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley, CM Punk.
But why?
It's unbelievable.
Why?
Because they let them do their own stuff.
They let them do their own stuff.
Yep.
Bullet points. Right. Make sure you hit these things, but the rest of it is up to you.
Right.
They don't script every single word and just have you memorize it, which is why most of the promos in WWE come across as being so fake, is because it's memorization and regurgitation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like the person would talk. That's the thing about a good promo. That's why
Yeah.
Flair was so good, Dusty was so good, is because you believe the stuff they were saying,
Right.
because of how they said it. It was who they were. It was their character. It was who they were.
Yeah, that's why John Moxley, like, who he was back then in the WWE as Dean Ambrose, and now is like completely different, like just off the wall, whatever he wants to do.
Right. I mean, the other thing about it is that, like you said, they have the bullet points, but Tony Khan creates an environment where they can be creative. And it's so funny because I've heard multiple people who have left now get up. They now get upset because they don't have them. They're holding their hands for their promos. Like Big Swole said that. Hikaru Shida has said that in the past. Some of them are saying, like, they don't have people there to, like, do their stuff for them. It's like, you went there because they told you they're not going to hold your hand. They're going to make sure that you stay on the path they want you to get the point across, like you said, the bullet points.
Yeah.
But, it's shocking that people now are complaining the opposite, whereas WWE, if you go off the script, you're going to get your hand slapped. That's on a good day. On a bad day, they'll just write you off the show.
Right.
And then you go to AEW where they're like, hey, here's a couple things you need to hit in this promo. And then they're complaining because, that just tells me that you're not a creative person. So you can't come up with something to say. Like, we're talking about wrestling here. We're not talking about Shakespeare. It's like, get your point across. Like, work on it prior to the show. Spend some time on it. You always hear those stories where they, the wrestlers would, do their promos in front of a mirror. That kind of stuff. So it's like, use your friends as a springboard. Like, hey, does this sound good if I use this or that or the other, And if it sounds weak or not believable, then, get it better. This was the thing. I'm sure there has to be some sort of somebody helping you along the way, but they're not, like, literally writing you your own, like, literal words, and they say, go do it. Which is, I guess, sound like some of them are complaining that's what they want.
That's how MJF did it. He did promos in the mirror until he lost his voice.
Right. Dude, that promo he did over the week or on Wednesday, dude, man, he was like crying and stuff. I'm like, this guy, dude, this guy is going to get an Oscar.
How good is it going to be when he hits the old swerveroo?
Yeah, you know that.
It tells everybody, I can't believe you morons were buying into that. My IQ is 175. I don't have ADP.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's great. And yes, you're right, Otto. I am not a big fan of Big Mo. That's correct.
Big Mo.
Yeah, anybody who leaves a company, regardless of the situation, and then says everything was great and wonderful and hunky dory, and then within 2 days' time, turns around and throws them under the bus and says all this negative stuff about him. It's like, dude, I don't have no time for people like that. All that negativity, I don't like that. It's like when somebody talks negative about somebody else and they stand up for themselves, and then somehow they paint themselves as a victim after they just get done talking bad about that company. It makes no sense. Like, of course you're going to stand up for yourself and your company. And then for the reaction to be their action she gave is so ridiculous. And I don't know. That kind of stuff to me has always irked me about the wrestling world. When somebody stands up for themselves, why would you not expect that?
Yeah.
So if somebody's going to run you into the ground, there has to be two sides of every story, It's like, come on, So anyways, it is what it is, but I don't want to get on that tangent. But yeah, so let me ask you all this. This is the question I want to ask both of you guys. So it's a two-part question, but just bear with me. So who do you see right now with AEW product? What star do you see going up? Who has a rising star going up right now that you see starting to take off? And who has a star that's kind of coming down and you see losing some steam and momentum that maybe was hot a few months back? And whoever wants to go first, who do you see taking off and who do you see cooling off?
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, Well, I know Darby Allin. I think he's still got a lot of upside to him as far as I don't know how to say it because he's so over now. But you hear me?
It's kind of slow now.
Hold on one sec.
All right. While he's doing his, what about you, Joey? While he's working on his technical difficulty.
A little bit. I couldn't get phone calls, and I'm trying to do this, but I think Darby Allin still has a lot of upside. Like, even though he's loved by the fans and things like that, so I think I see a big things for him in the next year or two. So downside, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, I think we already mentioned one.
Well, Hangman Adam Page, yeah,
he's losing some steam.
Yeah, that's kind of. Seems like Moxley. I'll be honest. When Moxley came back, the crowd went nuts. But they're not like super behind him anymore. Like, it's weird. Like, when he gets on the mic and stuff and starts spitting whatever he spits out of his mouth, like, they start to get behind him. But he's not like super. I don't know. It seems like he's lost a little bit of. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Well, I think consistently week in and week out, the person who, to me, steals the show is MJF.
Yeah.
I think they ought to put the rocket on him.
Yeah, you can't deny that.
I mean, he's the best on the mic. He can go in the ring. He can talk people into the seats. He can talk people into the buildings. I think he's probably. I mean, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see what WWE would do with him on a global scale,
But the thing is, I have to jump in here real quick, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to bring that up too. But if he goes to WWE, he ain't the same guy. He ain't the same guy. No, there's no way that he can get away with that stuff in WWE.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but how could they keep him similar, but still,
like you told me earlier, how many zeros will they put on the back of that check to muffle him?
Yeah, yeah. Or how many zeros How many zeros would it take for him to muzzle himself? Right,
exactly. That's the real key right there. I mean, when you cut a promo referencing Brian Pillman, Mom should have swallowed. All you got to do, I mean, there's no coming back from that on national television, dude. So I mean, there's no. I mean, you're not doing that at WWE. Maybe 30 years ago, yes, not WWE nowadays. That's for sure.
Think about how good he would have been in the Attitude Era.
Oh my gosh! Can you imagine him and The Rock or him and Stone Cold in the ring together, going toe to toe on this it would be mind boggling. It would be so. I would love anything to him and The Rock have a promo off in the ring. Oh my gosh, dude, that would be fire.
He's
so believable though. The guy is so believable. He's 37 years old. Like,
he's the same guy no matter where you see him.
Yeah.
If you see him in the airport, he's gonna
dog
cuss you there. He's gonna dog cuss your kid.
But what's this? If you all see the video that this what Otto's saying, have you seen the video where in the YouTube just recently where MJF and the 11-year-old girl at the dual sign? Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched the video, but and there's a lot that gets said here. But the one thing that sticks out, he tells this 11-year-old girl that the reason why his dad is so upset is because 11 years ago he made a mistake that he didn't wear a condom.
Yeah.
And the little girl's the little girl starts doing like a promo off with MJF, and she does a pretty good job. She kind of comes hot on him for 11-year-old.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden MJF goes, "Well, your dad's real disappointed that he didn't wear a condom 11 years ago." You can tell she didn't quite understand, but then she kind of looks at her dad and he's just like, what do you say?
So he's so good.
But it goes back to what we're saying. And then here real quick, Otto asked, when do you think Darby will turn on Sting? I don't know if Darby will turn on Sting. I don't know if that will happen. I would be really surprised if they did that. They would have to really create a story around that situation, because right now that would be so jarring. I would not like that right now.
I think Sting would more or less just kind of fade out, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
otherwise, I don't know what Sting would do if he wasn't with Darby. I don't know what they would have him do.
Yeah.
I think their characters meld together so well.
I do think that if Otto, I will say I think Christian will be turning on Jungle Boy soon enough, and Luchasaurus, and I do think that'll be a banger of a match when they turn on them, and you'll see a Christian versus Jungle Boy match, because they're starting to do that right now. They're starting to finally sow the seeds, just little bit things here and there that they're like peppering into their little promos and talking points. So again, it may not happen tomorrow, it may not happen next month, but yeah, it's happening down the road. Because again, AEW has not failed on showing that longevity in a storyline is what they do best. So, but with Darby, I'm not for sure. To be honest with you, I would, at this point, it'd be so jarring. I think it would definitely not work in their favor to do something like that. People be super pissed. So I will say, I said people, but I'm a person. But one group I feel like has dropped off, and I don't care about any of them, is the Dark Order. I feel like they have finally just dropped off.
There's only one thing that can happen to make the Dark Order relevant again, and I think we all know what that is.
Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
Otherwise, you may as well split them up
from them.
Yeah. If Bray Wyatt comes back and turns them all evil again, as Brody Lee had done, they actually make them like menacing and they're bad guys. And I understand what had happened and why they can't do it. I get all that. But if they end up bringing Bray Wyatt in and he reverts them back to the old ways, then I think you're good to go. But unless that happens, like, I don't care about any of those guys. And they're good wrestlers. Don't get me wrong. But when they go out, aside from Preston Vance 10, aside from like basically him, because he just has like such a great body and like he really is like just a giant man. Any of those other guys come out, and no offense to any of those guys, but I don't care.
Right.
I don't care about what they're doing. I don't care what they're saying. I don't care about who they're wrestling, because you almost know everyone they come out now, they're almost like guaranteed jobbers at this point. They're not doing anything. So I'm just like,
I would love to know what's going on with Bray Wyatt. I really would, because it's almost like apparently that Brody Lee has hit him pretty, like, really hard ever since he's. So I don't know what they got.
Well, so this leads me to a question I've been wanting to ask you guys. Is Tony Khan signing too many guys?
Yes.
It seems like there's somebody new every week.
If they can use them properly, I think they're okay. But
I mean, was Keith Lee even on Dynamite this past week?
Yeah, he had a promo because Ricky Starks came out and said, "Hey, stay in your lane."
Okay.
So
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the few that just doesn't really care about Keith Lee. Like, I don't know. For a big man,
I don't really
wrestle, but I don't know.
I feel like sometimes some people, like online, like on the WWE guys that used to be independent guys, they go to WWE and then basically never do anything, but they are good. Whenever they leave WWE, everybody really puts them over as like such a great talent that never got their chance to shine in WWE because they didn't know how to use them and blah, 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 blah. They did that with Adam Cole. They're doing that with Keith Lee. They're doing that with that Jake Atlas, who he showed up, he got hurt, he's off, whatever. But like so far, honestly, aside from like some of the legend guys, I haven't really been impressed with all that many people. Like the person the person I've been the most impressed with of the two is Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Those guys can go. Like,
yeah,
dang.
Bobby Fish is a beat. I love Bobby Fish, man.
I love Bobby Fish. Like, I'm like I'm like a Bobby Fish super collector. I don't ever talk about it, but I go collect all his stuff. But I mean, like, it sucks that he's playing like the third string man or whatever you call it, the third banana to what's going on right now. Even last night or on Wednesday night when Adam Page was in the ring running his mouth, and then like Bobby Fish was like, "We don't even know what you're talking about. You're just stupid." He's like yelling over the top of him, and he's just like, "Come out here and say that to my face." It's just like, this guy's gold. Like, where did he come from?
Bobby Fish looks like he either needs to be in the movie Tombstone or in the Gangs of New York.
Yes. With this little handlebar kind of mustache thing you have going on here. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, those are the two guys I think of that came over recently that I had no idea who they were. I knew they came over from WWE, but I was just like, and when you first look at them, you're like, okay, both of those guys have pretty good bodies. You know, they look like they're in shape, you know? And I'm like, okay, at least they have a look to them. And then they come out and like, Bobby Fish, man, he can go. Like, that match he had with CM Punk, man, what a great match. Yeah. And he had a couple dark matches that he's done on AEW Dark. Fantastic. I mean, he just whooped up on some jobbers. But, I mean, he did great, you know? But a lot of these other guys, like Keith Lee, I mean, you know, I'm like, so far, like, kind of like what you said, Steve, I'm like, I mean, maybe after he's there for a little bit, he gets the momentum going. Well, I mean, he's definitely a big dude, and he moves pretty fast for a big guy. I mean, he was hopping off the ropes and flying through the ropes and all that stuff. I love that he grabbed Mark Quinn midair, upside down. That was legit. That was legit. I was like, all right, I see you.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that.
I don't dislike the guy. It didn't get me like my juices flowing. Like,
sure.
Tony Khan made an announcement. Like, I don't know if you remember him posting the Twitter or somewhere that it was going to be, I forget the wording he used, but that night was going to be somebody, I can't even think of the wording, but basically like a incredible signing, and yeah, to some people he is, but to me it was just kind of like,
the forbidden.
Well, I kind of felt like that's what happened with Christian about a year and a half ago. He goes, we have a legendary signing or a Hall of Fame worthy signing or whatever he was using that terminology. And then I was thrilled that Christian came over. But I heard like a lot of other people was like a wet fart. And I was like, wow, really?
I love Christian.
People weren't really thrilled with Christian. I thought he was such a great wrestler. But I know a lot of people were kind of like, really? Oh, okay. So I don't know. Yeah.
Everybody's
What's your thoughts about like the AEW guys that's come over so far? Let's go with that. Like, since just pick a wrestler that's come over that you've been really impressed by, and one that's come over and you're like, what was the big deal about him in the first place? Everybody put him over or her over, and now I see why they weren't being used. Like, nobody, I don't get it. So
I like.
I'll tell you for me real quick. I won't. I'm going to say one. Mercedes Martinez. Wow, yeah. Whoa, she's come out of the gate like swinging. I'm impressed. I liked her so far, and I didn't even know she was with WWE, but apparently she was over there, and I really liked her. And the person that came over and disappeared, Leo Rush. I was like, who's this guy? Like, this guy's like 4'9", and he's wearing like a onesie. Get this schmo off of here. So those are my two picks. What about you guys?
I would say I like what they're doing with Aleister Black.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot Aleister Black.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
yes, the House of Black.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to say this, guys, but just based on what he's doing right now, Matt Hardy.
I agree to a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we know he's capable of a whole lot more than what he's being given right now. And like I said, maybe he needs Jeff to come in to get a shot in the arm, you know?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I agree. That's very true. Well, I know that Tony Khan does not like the whole mystery, like what do you call that? What's the whole like the Undertaker type stuff, the supernatural. He's not a big fan of that type of wrestling, more the theatrical stuff. And so that's why he didn't do the Broken Matt Hardy thing only for a hot minute, because basically Tony Khan was like, no, we're not doing that. But it's kind of weird because Matt Hardy kind of gets crapped on, but then you have Abaddon. And I mean, Abaddon's like basically a zombie. And then and as soon as he gets cleared to wrestle, Danhausen is, basically a supernatural type character as well, quasi, along with the House of Black, also kind of supernatural-ish type of way. So I don't really get and there are fans of stuff like that, and I like Abaddon actually. I think she's great. I enjoy it. It's totally different. If they had a bunch of wrestlers like her, then I would be like, okay, this is ridiculous. But she's kind of a unique out on her own, and like her thing works for me because it's one person doing her thing. And she does the whole like scary gimmick thing. I like it. I don't know. I do enjoy it. But like the Aleister Black stuff in the House of Black or the Knights of the Round Table, Black Table, whatever. Like all that stuff. I like that. Brody King, Buddy Matthews now, whatever that looks like.
Well, I was going to say that I'm a huge fan of the Lights Out.
Yes.
Because it takes me back to the old ECW days, which I was a tape trader when I was in high school. So that was the only way I ever saw ECW. And you knew when those lights went out, when those came back on, whoever was standing in the ring, it was going to be a big deal. I remember Jake Roberts. I remember Jerry Lawler showing up in ECW and was on when the lights came back on. When Sabu and Taz finally were in the same ring together.
Oh man!
So when the lights go out, like I'm a huge fan of that. So this Buddy Matthews thing, and I was surprised at the pop he got. I mean, he got a pretty.
I was looking forward to him because he definitely was not being used properly, and the whole Rey Mysterio, the whole girlfriend Dominic Mysterio, with
Aaliyah, the whole Aaliyah storyline or whatever.
Like, was it him and Aleister that were having so some of those hard hitting matches?
Yeah, the feud that when Aleister first made his come up from when they called him up from NXT, that was actually the guy he faced at the first pay-per-view.
Those were some very matches.
Right. They even allude to it in AEW, which makes you like it's like there's like multiverse, which they don't like when WWE pretends stuff like this never happened. Any other promotion, anywhere else, anybody, they're like it never existed unless it existed in the WWE walls. And AEW goes back to what we talked about, letting those guys do their creation, let them work within their parameters, but they give them pretty free reign. Like when he shows up, usually when you show up, you think that guy's immediately going to whoop up on the bad guys or whoop up on the good guys. But the whole, like the stare off between the two of them, like they can't trust each other. That was brought over from WWE. And then the whole thing with Aleister Black or Malachi Black now, like looking at him and like slapping him and looking at him like, are you really with us? And can I trust you? Like, again, all that came from somewhere else. Like that's not a normal introduction of a new character because that storyline that came over from 8 months ago or a year ago or whatever. And I mean, I like that. So I don't know. To me, it makes sense.
Yeah, I knew things are headed in the wrong direction when we went to Raw in Philadelphia on the road to WrestleMania. It was in 2019, and they had Ricochet and Aleister Black teaming up together. And I'm like, these guys have nothing in common. Like, and they were putting these guys together, and they were winning for like a month, and it just like got old. Like, what do you? Yeah, you could tell they were lost with what they were doing with the.
And they're doing the same thing now because now Tommaso Ciampa is up on Raw now.
Sad.
What do? They stick him with Finn Balor as a tag team, right? When they should have Tommaso Ciampa swerve Finn Balor and just beat the hell out of him. and get them two going against each other. But now they've teamed them up for no reason. And then here comes Damian Priest out to do his whole spiel.
Oh, I know.
And do this challenge. And then who comes out in a second segment? Finn Balor. Like, are you a tag team with Tommaso Ciampa, or are you fighting for the U.S. title? Like, pick one. That's dumb.
Right.
So stupid. Sorry, I get off on these tangents.
No, I will say Otto makes an interesting point here. I don't know if you all saw this. He goes, maybe when Sting finally is ready to call it quits, he leaves. He gets left laying in a pool of his own blood. That would be a way to go. That would definitely be something you would remember. You know.
But it needs to be enough blood. It needs to be enough blood to where nobody can survive that.
Right.
Yeah.
He comes back as Steve Borden, like Sting's dead or whatever. You know, but like, yeah, I think that makes the most. I mean, like, if they did something like that, it would have to be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if people want to see that, though. I think Sting is such, like, universally loved. If you beat him to a bloody pulp and that's the last thing you see from him, I don't think that's the way people want to see him leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think people want to see him leave on a white horse heading off into the sunset, not beaten to death in the middle of a ring or something like that.
I got a quick question. Who do you think comes out on top of this feud with Punk and MJF?
MJF.
Yeah.
Because I don't think. I think.
Let me
just tell you. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve.
No, I think he's at that point where Punk's at that point where he wants to put people over, like people who deserve to be put over. Like, I'm just curious to see if he does it. Like, will he put him over?
Well, see, I mean, I don't disagree. But he put him over. He's already put him over.
That's true. That is true.
I think at the end of the day, I think that you got to get back to MJF and Wardlow, and I think the way you do that is by having maybe let Wardlow accidentally costing him against CM Punk.
That's it.
Or something like that. You go because that's MJF's they got to get back to the MJF Wardlow. Because that was going, and it was going hot, and then the CM Punk stuff just got so red hot that they kind of left the Wardlow stuff off to the side.
Yeah, if they do that, then I'd be fine with the way it goes down. And if they do, he's supposed to help him out like the way he helped him out against who did he help him out against in the last match? Oh, well, against CM Punk.
Yeah,
So yeah, if they do something like that, then that because CM Punk lost to him technically twice, So if he loses to him clean, then I can see why that would be a problem. I guess what you're saying. But if CM Punk beats him because Wardlow accidentally ruins it by interfering, and Punk wins, then, like you said, that match can stop now. That promo or that storyline can end for the time being, and it goes back to the MJF Wardlow thing. That makes sense. But CM Punk is like Bryan Danielson, kind of like Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy back in the day. You can get beat, and it won't matter. Like you're still going to be super hot. So that's why. So they're not. He's kind of like. What do you call bulletproof right now still? Like, there's nothing going to happen to him. So, but I think it makes more sense that if like CM Punk has the title, that MJF beats him for the title, a year's time from now or whatever, that might make more sense because that would be even like they have that history now, you know what I'm saying? Right. So that would make more sense, especially if Wardlow interferes and it costs the MJF the match, which makes sense. So I do like that idea. But I'm okay with MJF or CM Punk winning. Either one I'm okay with, quite frankly. But I feel like if MJF wins, we just know he's gonna take it to the next level. Like that'll be something he'll be like, it'll be the name of his first book. How I beat CM Punk 3 times in a month or something like that. So
I can't wait to see how they swerve this last promo that he did. It's going to be great.
Oh my gosh! And you know the thing is, I don't know if you all ever watch Simon Miller on What Culture Wrestling,
Oh
but
yeah,
he's like my favorite guy to listen to.
yeah,
And he was saying, you know, and again, I'm not Jewish, but he said when he said that stuff, all the things that he said about being a Jewish kid in the school and all that stuff, he goes, it really hit people like himself, like in the feelers or the fields. He said, and I'm like, you know what? Even though you know it's a swerve coming, you know he's like completely setting this up. Like he's still so good at what he's doing that people were like, man, like that sucks growing up that way. It's kind of like when he came out as like in Long Island and he got a hero's welcome, you know, and he was just kind of like grinning from ear to ear, and it's like, you know, it was almost like a baby face, and you're like, what? So you know, he's so good that way.
I had to stop listening to the What Culture guys because all
of them are just.
Well, I just clump them together, but
yeah, you need to listen to this to Simon Miller just when he does his. I agree. The rest of the guys are a bunch of what do you call those? Metrosexual, like
they all talk about like getting erections watching people fight and how
yeah, exactly. And always talking about how they're always talking about how they like big beefy bodies slapping up against each other. I'm like, all right, dude. I don't need that in like every single one of your videos.
I had to cut that junk out of my life, man.
If you just watch Simon Miller's up and down videos, you're okay.
Yeah, I can watch Simon Miller. Simon Miller is about the only one I can tolerate. Like,
yeah. If Simon Miller ever left and did his own thing, I guarantee you that viewership over there would plummet because no one else is watching those other videos. If you go back and watch his videos versus the other guys doing videos, it's like he has 200,000 views and everybody else has like 10,000.
I got to ask Steve a question.
What's that?
And the answer to your question here is going to determine whether we can be YouTube friends or not. Jim Cornette or Vince Russo?
Jim Cornette.
I really thought we had a shot.
Hey, I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of times where I want to reach through the phone and punch Jim Cornette right in the face. But I don't know. There's just something about him.
I got a chance to meet him when we were down at the WrestleMania. We went to Jim Ross's one-man show, and Cornette was one of the guests there, and you know we met him or whatever. And I got a lot of respect for what he's done in the business and stuff, but I'm talking specifically about their feud because I am a Vince Russo guy. I am. Because
you were talking about like between the feud, like
their feud with each other. They hate each other's guts.
Yeah, I knew that.
They hate each other's guts. So if you want, I don't know, Jason, have you ever listened to Jim Cornette talk about Vince Russo?
Yeah, I want once in a while I'll punish myself and listen to the Jim Cornette Experience or whatever it's called. Yeah. And like or the drive-in or whatever he calls itself, and I'll pop it on once in a while, but I can barely take it because it's just so like I mean, you know. He's like the atypical or he's like atypical or the typical like get off my lawn old man guy. Like that's his thing. I'm just like, dude, like not everything has to be 1975 Memphis.
Yeah.
You know,
Vince Russo gets a bad rap. He gets a bad rap because
he does.
People think he drove WCW out of business when it was already going under.
Right.
You know, I subscribe to his. He's got his own podcast platform and stuff that I subscribe to, and believe it or not, him and Jim Cornette really aren't that far apart on what they talk about. You know, none of them like the current product. You know, they all have negative things to say, but at the end of the day, Vince Russo wrote the wrestling when wrestling was the hottest it's ever been, and at the rate we're going, ever will be. Yeah, now, granted, he had guys like The Rock and Stone Cold and, you know, DX and stuff. So it was easy. But anyway, I was
Yeah,
just
I mean,
curious. I was just curious. I know you're a big. I mean, I can tell you're a big wrestling guy, and I was curious what your opinion.
I didn't know you meant between the two of them. Like, I thought you meant like all time. Like, who would I pick? Like as a veteran?
Yeah. Sorry. I guess I should. I wasn't clear, but
no. Yeah. He has been. Cornette has been way too hard. Like as far as Russo, like gone way over the top and
way over the top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he says stuff like he wants to kill the guy and like F his corpse and all this kind of stuff and piss on his grave. And I mean, the dude's like, I mean, he acts like he he murdered Jim Cornette's like family or something, And it's just crazy. I'm like, come on, dude. And I mean, I don't have it. None of the wrestling fans have a dog in this fight. You know what I'm saying? It's just the fact of how you treat other people. And like Jim Cornette, I mean, and that's not just towards Russo, but 100% hatred towards Russo is always there. But he's like that about everything and everybody. He rarely puts anybody over on his podcast. Most of the time, it's just him just complaining, about everything, And it's like no wonder he's like a pariah in the wrestling world. Like he can't get a job. I mean, he used to work with the NWA, not anymore. I think he used to work with Ring of Honor, not anymore. He had a hot minute. He was kind of like working with Tony Khan at AEW when they first started up. Apparently, he said, not anymore. WWE, not anymore. It's like, he just this old man in Louisville, Kentucky, pissing and moaning on a podcast.
Yeah, he almost got the crap beat out of him by Santino Marella at one time at that wrestling convention.
That's the thing is like he's like the atypical keyboard cowboy that guy who like runs his mouth about and saying like really mean hateful stuff, and then when in public he ain't gonna say squat, and then somebody's gonna come take him up on his offer, gonna knock out an old man, and it's a 70-year-old man, they're gonna knock his teeth out, and it's like I don't blame him. I don't blame some of the stuff he says about people. It's like he like makes it way too personal. It's just like, dude, you could say, like we've been saying, we don't like the product, we don't like this or that, but we're not talking about like we hopefully like go die. But I mean,
I don't know why people engage with him because he is vicious. I mean, the things he says vicious on social media and stuff. I don't know why you would even try to exchange words with a guy like that, but.
I like how AEW like makes a mockery of him once in a while. They'll throw some like shade on him because they'll say. I mean, he'll say stuff about he'll like make like inappropriate comments about like the Bunny or Kip Sabian and like Penelope Ford or about Lana and Miro and stuff. And I'm just like, dude, like you're just jealous because these guys have these hot wives or girlfriends. And you don't, and you're just a jealous old man that and apparently some kind of pervy old man who just can't get any acknowledgement of what you used to do 50 years ago. It's like it's over.
I'd like to see you and Cornette get into it a little bit there, Jace.
Oh man, dude. Yeah, I probably unfortunately for me, I don't have the temperament. As soon as he says something like was a little bit too close to home, I would take his cane from him and beat him with it.
And you can quote me.
You can take that to the bank. So yeah, but and like I said, it is what it is. It's whatever. But and I know maybe some of it's like a shtick. Maybe some of it like the extreme. People would come to used to seeing that. Yeah. But I honestly believe he's one of the few people who really means what he says, like all the time.
Oh, he does. Yeah, I think he does. So, I think he's that crazy. He's nuttier than a pecan log.
Oh man!
No, I misunderstood you when we were talking about like careers and things like that.
Yeah.
I think he definitely had more of a career worth being proud of because he had so much of a career that spanned decades. Both in front of the camera and behind the camera. I mean, he definitely has an amazing wrestling mind. There's no doubt about that. But and then Vince Russo should have stayed behind the table, not get in front of the camera ever. So.
Oh, see now, look, I I disagree.
Here we go.
He was very good.
Roll the sleeves.
He was very good on camera. Matter of fact, that's why he went on camera. He said, He said nobody could do what I needed them to do, so I did it myself.
When he came out there and fired Hulk Hogan, you mean?
Dude, he eviscerated Hulk Hogan, man. Are you kidding me? Hey, speaking, I mean, on YouTube, he's got a YouTube channel. You should check it out because now one of his big things on his YouTube channel, Jason, is he's not a huge fan of your boy Tony Khan.
Well, no one is. Not Cornette, not Russo, not Bischoff, not anybody.
At least Russo does it in a humorous way. He's not like,
bashing him.
He's not bashing him, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean,
what's your thoughts about Tony Khan? Like, it's closing on 3 years of AEW's been around for 3 years now, essentially. I mean, what do you all think of Tony Khan and what he's done thus far? I know we kind of alluded to is he signing too many people, blah, blah, blah. But overall, what's your thoughts about him?
I still think it's going to take time. Like, in my opinion, I like Tony Khan. I think he's got like that really like passionate energy, like wanting to do things like that the wrestling business hasn't seen in a long time. And I don't know, but as far as like will it succeed, some of the things that they're doing, I guess time will tell. But I like the guy personally. I think there's a chance, man. I don't know. It's tough.
Well, as long as he didn't try to become WWE, because he's not going to win that one.
No, not at all.
Got to be different. But here's my opinion on it, Jason and Steve, is he is eventually going to give out. Like, he's eventually going to get tired.
Yeah, that's what
he's going to eventually hit a creative block. If he insists on being the sole creative mind, eventually he's gonna get fatigued. He's got to get some folks in there to help him.
That's what he's gonna call Russo.
Hey.
We're gonna have a lot of puppies real soon.
Hey, guess what happens in them ratings though?
Oh, I know, they'll go through the roof. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, everybody. Puppies will have puppies.
Puppies.
Yeah. So my thoughts are I do agree with both of you guys. I think he's definitely very smart. He's doing a good job for a like startup company with no help as far as like no base. He had to build everything, from the ground up. And for the amount of talent that he has on that roster, and using them, I would say like 90% of them the right way so far. I would say that's impressive right in itself. But I do agree that you're not going to be able to be the sole person when it comes to storylines and ideas and suggestions, because eventually, like you said, you're going to run into a wall. You're not going to be able to do it anymore. You're going to paint yourself into a corner, either because you just can't, you just don't have any other ideas left, or you're just going to be exhausted from the whole thing. Because this is not his only job. This is one of his like 2 or 3 jobs.
Right.
So eventually the wheels fall off, and you have to have somebody there you can trust, or a handful of people you can trust that can help you there, So I don't know what that looks like. Maybe that's some of these legends might end up moving to those kind of roles where they're going to help with that. That'd be great, because I think he has some. I mean, you have Dustin Rhodes, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Sting, Christian. These are all great minds. I think that could definitely help you, because they've been in every story and scenario, and they've seen it all. So I think it will definitely not hurt. And also, when you get guys that are that much older, they don't have as much skin of the game. But when you have like the Young Bucks and Cody, of course they want themselves to be the front runners. They want them and their buddies to be in every storyline, and they want to be the main eventers. Mm-hmm. But when you got the guys that are in their 50s and 60s and 70s, they know their time's over. So maybe that you have some trusted people that don't want to be in the limelight, right. To be the ones like that. I don't know. That's my suggestion. I don't know, but I agree that eventually something has to give. You don't want the product to go down the crapper because you won't relinquish some of the responsibility.
I think eventually he will. I think he won't have a choice. So,
I mean, I think the best idea would just to have when Cody Rhodes shows back up with WWE, that they're going to do counter programming that Goldust shows back up at AEW. And he's just like,
no,
like that.
No more Stardust.
Oh man,
no more Goldust.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me ask you this. So I do want to ask you this. So what's one person you think would be better if they leave AEW and go to WWE? They would have a better opportunity. And one person, not WWE necessarily, that needs to show up. They could be with NWA, they could be with MLW, they could be with whoever, and they would, Impact, and they should show up at AEW. But the AEW guy has to go to WWE. Who do you think, a guy or girl, who do you think should leave there who's not being used, but would do better with WWE? And then what wrestler anywhere should come to AEW?
Wow.
Ooh, smokes.
All right. I mean, we've talked about him already, but I think the most WWE guy in AEW is MJF.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I want to see him in that situation. If I know he can come back to AEW if it doesn't work out.
a close second would be Wardlow.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say because
Wardlow is he's big.
He kind of reminds me of that Batista time, kind of like
right.
He may not be the exact build, but like he just has that. I don't know. You can kind of back him, get behind him.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like that with Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs. He's like a big guy that would do well in the WWE thing as well. Like you started hearing him on the mic a little bit. He can do a little bit of talking, but I think that's the one thing WWE can do well is getting people comfortable in front of a microphone. Even though they feed them too much stuff to say, but you can tell they're way more like polished when they leave there. Like Ruby Soho, she came over. I mean, she has no problem cutting a promo. She's really good on the mic. Like a lot of AEW wrestling girls are like lost. Like they're like don't know what they're doing. So people like her, Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa like have no problem on the mic. But most everybody else, I don't really trust on the mic from there. But yeah, I think like Wardlow would definitely do well over there. So
I was going to say Thunder Rosa as well, being over in WWE because she's been around so long. People know her name, and
yeah, she gets huge pops wherever she goes.
Yeah, I think her style. I've met her before, like, and she's super cool, like super friendly. Like, I think she'll do well.
I want to take her out and have some tacos with her. I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a sexual way. Like, if you go to her YouTube channel, that's what she does. She goes and takes people to go to taco shops.
All right, man. Whatever you say.
Hey, I'm just saying, dude. I'd be down for some legit tacos with Thunder Rosa.
You mentioned somebody from any promotion.
Any promotion that goes to AEW.
I'll tell you right now, somebody that would come to AEW and completely transform the division.
Let's hear it.
Charlotte Flair.
Yes, I will say that is 100% true. Yes.
Charlotte Flair.
Man, if Charlotte Flair shows up eventually, because I think she's on the outs with WWE. Like, soon as her contract's over, I think she's gone. She's already you can already tell she doesn't want to be there. It seems like half the time, anyways. Like, if she leaves, unless they just throw so much ridiculous money at her to her not go to AEW, because that's exactly where she'll end up going. So, because I think Ric Flair was on his way to AEW until the whole flight from hell, whatever thing happened, and it kind of like put the screws to that, because he was like on his way, I think. But anyways, if she ends up getting let go or she doesn't renew her contract or whatever, you are 100% correct. She shows up there, complete game changer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That just gives me chills thinking about it. So I'm like, man.
Too easy. Pump the brakes there, pal.
Well, I'm not gonna get like too crazy, but yeah.
You need to be on what culture?
Yeah, talk about eggplants or whatever the hell they talk about. So.
Stuff throbbing.
Right. So yeah, what about you? What about you, Steve? What do you? Who's like wrestler that you think that would do well if they came over
from WWE
or anywhere? I have one person I think that shows up. He's a huge. But I'm gonna wait for you to say. Otto said Tyrus. Dude, if Tyrus shows up, that would be so legit. I am a huge Tyrus fan, man. Like, not only do I like him as a wrestler, I love his politics.
Only if he wears a Trump 2024 t-shirt.
Right? Yeah, exactly. If he wears a Trump 2024 shirt or Let's Go Brandon shirt, then I'd be all about that life. So, I'm surprised because NWA is a real liberal company. Like, if they're that, Billy Corgan, he's the one behind it, and like there's a lot of their main people on that roster are like big time, like liberal type like thoughts process. So I'm surprised at how big he is over there, quite frankly, because he's a TV champ and has been for quite a while. But anyways, like that's more power to him that they let people do their thing. I respect that tremendously because I feel like a guy like him with WWE or even AEW probably end up getting buried. Because you have even more extreme people on those programs. So, anyways, but yes, Otto Tyrus, him showing up. He's not the guy I would pick, but I agree I would get a pop. I'll get a big pop on that one. So, Steve, what do you think? Who's a wrestler, guy or gal, that would pop over there? You can't use Charlotte Flair. She's already off the table, thanks to Joey. Let me go while you're thinking.
Yeah.
All right. Mine would be Matt Cardona. I think if he came back to AEW, and he had like a hot minute there, he had like a 1 month like minimum or whatever that he came over and he did some stuff. Matt Cardona right now is like so hot.
Yeah.
I mean, he's NWA, GCW, NOW, wherever he's at. He's popping up in Indy. He's like wrecking everybody. He's talking all this garbage to everybody. Trevor Murdoch, everybody. He's like burying everybody wherever he goes. I mean, like if he shows up with that same gimmick, like whatever his like thing is, ready to fight or always ready or whatever it is, always ready, Matt Cardona. I think if he brought that and then he like wrecks like somebody like Sammy Guevara on like an open title, because Sammy Guevara's like that's like the tradition right now. That would be so hot and over. People would lose their minds. I would think that would be such a great gimmick, dude. I would love that. What about you guys?
He's doing exactly what Cody did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I think
he's showing up everywhere and getting himself over.
Maybe not though. Who knows? Maybe he's just going to continue doing his own thing and being successful at it. I don't know.
I watch NWA. That's like the only other promotion I watch religiously because it is so old school. And the way when he comes in there and talks all this garbage about like the NWA, about how no one watches the shows anymore. He only watched because of him. And Trevor Murdoch's some fat hillbilly, all this kind of stuff. And I just was like, dude, this guy, he's kind of like MJF in that way. Like, he's like, there's like maybe some 50 to 75% like it's a work, 25% of there's truth to it. Like you just can't tell because he was talking about how Trevor Murdoch used to treat him terrible at WWE. and how he was one of the boys, and he would treat him like garbage. Who knows? Is that true or not? I don't know. But it was like, it's believable. It's like the whole MJF stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he tells enough truth to make you go, wow. And he layers that with so much BS, you can't tell where it starts and stops. So, anyways. So, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry. What's up? What do you think? Who are you thinking?
To be honest with you, it's kind of funny, and none of you agree with me, I don't think. But somebody we haven't seen is Ryback in AEW.
Oh, dude. Ryback. He's still in great shape, too. You're right.
He's in the best shape of his life. And he's had them stem cells done now. And I watched he has a Twitch channel, and I called him on there, and he said he's ready. He's just, it's a matter of if and when, he gets a call from.
Has he done something in his life where people don't like him? I feel like a lot of people don't like him. Is there a reason behind it? I don't follow him, so
he's really
he's not afraid to share his thoughts and opinions, for sure.
He's not. He will completely shit on you, like if you like he's just that type of person, like
right.
So
he's like Disco Inferno, but he can back it up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's somebody though that, would they be like I think they would make like an impact for like a short time over at AEW. I don't think it would be like anything that would I think it would get the crowd talk, get people talking again, because he was at one point was a big deal.
Yeah.
And then he got stale. Like, it happens.
It happens, right?
But if you look at his independent matches, like I got a chance to see him live. He was doing frog splashes off the top rope, man. Like where did this come from? Why were you doing this in WWE? Like, it looked incredible. So that's
that dude's so massive. Yeah, I agree. Like you said, would he come over there for a long program? I don't know about that.
I think it could be long, but
that's the one thing I don't like about we talk about Tony Khan. It kind of goes back. I feel like Tony Khan, he is really hung up on if somebody has past demons that doesn't fall into his category of like forgivable, he will not work with you. Yeah. And it's like, I understand, like if it's like current day stuff, like somebody says something like yesterday that was like completely uncalled for, like I get it. But if you're talking about some of these people who have said things decades ago or like 5 years ago, and they have shown that that's not who they are anymore, or they're like they've asked for forgiveness, like he's really hard up on like, I don't want that type of person in my promotion. It's like, so there's no forgiveness there. So he said a couple of times for a couple of different wrestlers, there's no way he would ever work with them, And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like, that to me has always irked me a bit. Like,
I don't think we'll see Ryback though because of the whole CM Punk being in AEW now. Because them two absolutely. Well, it's more Punk. Ryback, he said he's got no hard feelings towards him.
What happened there? I guess I don't know the story there.
He hurt Punk in matches. Like he was super aggressive, and their title matches that they had. Just stupidity. I mean, it was, I don't know, just stupid stuff.
Do you all see somebody like a Angle or a Rock or a Batista ever showed up in AEW in any capacity?
Not Batista. I think
Batista got what he wanted. He wanted that WrestleMania match to end his career. He'll never wrestle again. The Rock, this is what I'm hoping for this year's WrestleMania. Is I'm hoping Roman goes over on Brock, and while he's standing there with both belts up in the air,
the Rock's music hits.
If you smell,
yep.
And then here comes Rock, and they set up a year-long, like Rock and Cena did, a year-long to the next WrestleMania where they'll finally battle each other because they're in the same family and stuff. I'll give you one more, Jason. One more person that could show up and make a difference in AEW. And then I got to get off this thing, man. I'm about to die here.
All right, don't die on us. Don't you go dying on me.
I can't because I don't have you here to give me mouth to mouth.
Oh yeah. we went from Thunder Rosa to Joey all in one call. So.
No, I'm a school administrator, and we have our job fair in the morning. So I got to get some.
Steve, if you want to stay on, you can. If not, you want to bounce, that's fine too. But go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead, Joey. Yeah. What's one more?
All right, here it is. Kevin Cross.
Is that Killer Cross?
Yeah. Killer Cross.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And Scarlett.
Yes.
If they let them do their thing that they were doing in NXT, I think they'd do some good stuff.
You don't think they're showing up in the S&M outfit would work?
I mean, I think
that's what they put him in when he went to the main roster. They threw him in some S&M outfit with like a mask.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Scarlett.
Well, not Scarlett. Well, that'd be okay. So I didn't know what she looked like. I think maybe was it you that posted that picture? Somebody.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't me that posted it, but I was.
Oh, it was Gary. It was Gary. Yeah.
That was a tremendous photograph.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know who she was, and then Gary posted that picture of her. And by the way, guys, the picture, she was clothed. It was just like she was very hot, like in some sort of like bikini or something. But man, yeah, she was. I never knew who she was. I didn't really know who Karrion Kross or Killer Kross was. I heard about him because I saw him on like Walk Culture Wrestling when they talked about him like showing up on the main roster in some kind of like S&M gear, whatever it was.
I'm sure that's what they called it.
So I was like, what? But yeah, when I saw a picture of whatever her name is, I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, so she can show up in anything on AEW, and I'm like, okay, she could be showing up in like a freaking like that like meat dress that Lady Gaga wore. I'd be like, okay.
Killer Kross could be a huge.
All right, before you get off, Joey, I just want to say, what about the swerve real quick? The rock music hits. He's coming down the ramp to like go and tell Roman, like, not in my playhouse, not my ring. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, you hear the glass break. Bam! And stuns the Rock right on the ramp. And then he goes down and then gets in the face of Roman, and he has a couple beers. He's sucking up like that.
The story is perfect. The story is already ready made.
Yeah.
Roman calls himself the head of the table, the tribal chief. There ain't no bigger head of the table than the biggest movie star on the planet.
Right. Oh yeah.
The biggest entertainer on the planet, and he's fixing to remind Roman who the head of the table really is.
Yeah, and you remember him in that movie. Roman Reigns shows up in the movie. He could run him into the ground. I put you in my movie, and you were in my movie. You were just like some secondary character, just like in our family, just like in this promotion, just like what's going to happen. I mean, he just run him into the ground, dude. You're always going to be second best. You ain't nobody.
You're doing nothing but sucking on my hind teat.
Exactly.
Hey, and that would excite the what culture guys.
They sure would. All right, man.
Guys,
we'll see you later, dude.
See y'all.
All right, take care.
See you, man.
All right, dude. Do you want to hang on for a bit, Steve, or do you got to go?
I don't even know what time it is, to be honest with you.
It's 11:35.
I can hang out with it for a little bit.
All right, that's cool. So let me ask you. I didn't really get a chance to do this because we started with all of us really. So when did you get into wrestling? Like what was that for you? What got you into wrestling? What were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up? Was there a specific person who introduced you to wrestling? What's that story?
My grandma and my dad used to watch it on Saturday mornings, and I was a big Ultimate Warrior, like a huge Ultimate Warrior fan. And then a little bit down the road, Bret Hart in like 92. It was a Mr. Perfect match where I really became the SummerSlam 91, 92.
I think 91, but I could be wrong.
I think it was 91. And so Bret Hart and Ultimate Warrior were like my main guys growing up. Like they caught my attention, and Yeah, that's what got me into it. It was just that energy that Warrior always freaking.
Oh yeah. If you ever go back and listen to any Warrior promos, dude, it's the funniest stuff, dude. The stuff he says, what you can make out of it.
It's just absolutely jibber jabber that makes no freaking sense.
He's like, "It's the stars and the Milky Way will come together, and they will come with a rocket ship, and we will destroy you on Earth." It's like, what is this guy talking about?
And one thing I can't do is go back and watch any Warrior matches because I find out that I'm really disappointed by the time I'm done because they suck. Yeah.
That's how I felt about Andre the Giant. He was my favorite wrestler growing up. I named every animal I ever had Andre. My parakeets, my turtles, my dog. Everything was Andre because Andre the Giant. Because I was such a huge fan because I was born in '78. Andre was a huge deal throughout the '80s. And you know, I love tons of wrestlers, but Andre was my favorite. And when I go back and watch any of his matches, and most of the time he is either leaning against the ropes, leaning against the turnbuckle, headbutting, sitting on you, like slapping you against the ropes, kind of sort of doing like a half body slam or like an arm drag or whatever. The rest of the time he's like leaning on the person, he's like sweating like a stuck pig. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this guy is a terrible wrestler. You know, like he might have been awesome in his prime, but the '80s was definitely not his prime, and those matches were very hard to watch. I agree.
Yeah, I won't go back and watch any matches because now Bret Hart, on the other hand, like,
Bret Hart, man, yeah, he could do it. Like they always say, like wrestling, he could do a 5-star match with a broomstick.
Yeah, really, literally. I mean, the guy was incredible.
Right. And Otto said right here. Oh, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, it's sad. The thing I was gonna say is it's sad to see him now. Like, just it seems like he's not all there, like 100%. Ever since them strokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And yes, Otto. Yeah, I went to Brazil, Indiana. Is where Jim Hellwig's from, the Ultimate Warrior. He's from, and I did live not too far from that. It's like kind of South Central Indiana. And there was a girl I went to college with. It was a friend. We didn't date or anything, but she took me to her hometown one weekend from college, and she's the one who brought it to my attention. And I looked it up, and I'm like, sure enough. And so it was Brazil, Indiana, where he's from, and that's a whole side story of like how crazy it was that town was. It's just like it's a small town in Indiana, but yeah. But the crazy thing is, I'm sure you know this, Steve, but he was tag team partners with Sting.
Oh yeah,
and he went by the name the Dingo Warrior, right?
The Dingo Warrior.
The Dingo Warrior, Mike. So yeah, can you imagine? So, it was just kind of crazy. So I know both of those guys, Bret Hart and Ultimate Warrior always were pretty much baby faces. Did you have like a favorite heel growing up and somebody you just loved or like hate?
I'll be honest, when they brought the Ringmaster and Stone Cold, before he was Stone Cold, when Ted DiBiase brought Stone Cold in as the Ringmaster and he had that championship, that was one that I really legit hated. I really couldn't stand him even during the Bret Hart rivalry.
Owen Hart?
Yeah, the Bret Hart, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I remember, for me, I've mentioned this before, but my favorite was definitely Jake the Snake Roberts, was my favorite heel. I also like Roddy Piper. That was a little bit earlier in the 80s, I remember watching it on live TV or whatever when he hit Snuka in the head with that coconut. I remember that. I remember in what WrestleMania 1 was it that he fought Mr. T and they got in a slap fight. I remember watching that, they were slapping each other in the face. I remember oh my gosh, straight on, it felt so real. They were saying he was such a great heel. So those were some of the those guys I remember a lot when I was a kid.
My favorite heel my favorite heel late 80s, 90s is Piper. That's why.
Piper?
Oh yeah, Roddy Piper, definitely.
So what about nowadays? So who's your favorite on any promotion? Who's your favorite baby face? Who's your favorite heel right now? If somebody said you had to pick 2 guys or 2 girls, who would you pick right now as your favorite?
Babyface now?
Right, yeah.
AEW, I know it's gonna be boring. It's Darby Allin. It's definitely my favorite.
I would say the same thing. I'm right there with you.
I don't know. There's so much potential that guy had. Like I mean, I just think they can do so much like in the future, and so with him, yeah, I see nothing but good things for him coming in the future. WWE, man, it's so hard to say because the product is just. I'd say Brock because just because of his new before I really wasn't a huge Brock Lesnar fan, but now he's turned into his own character, like he's literally himself.
Right, he's pretty much himself, right?
Yeah, I love it. Like that's one thing. That's one of the few things that I enjoy about WWE. So.
Yeah, I think that's the same for most people. Actually, you're right. So for me, I would say the same thing. Kind of Darby Allin would be like up there. I think he's probably one of the best right now out there. And for me, he's been off TV for a while because he's been injured, but he just started like dominating. Was Miro as a heel?
What happened to him?
He's injured in real life. He's injured. So I thought like he wrestled Bryan Danielson injured just because of Moxley got taken out of the whole thing because of the whole drinking whatever going on. So they needed somebody who was like equally as believable as a possible foil to Bryan Danielson. Yeah. And so we got Miro. So Miro, because he got hurt, I think, during the match with Sammy Guevara when he lost the title. I think he got legitimately hurt, if I understand correctly. And then he was starting to heal back, and then he came back and wrestled Bryan Danielson. So he couldn't give the kind of banger match that he probably could have if he was 100%. So I'm hoping because the whole God's chosen warrior, man, that was legit. Like he was just like wrecking fools. So I hope he comes back and he gets that same momentum going because now there's so many people he can play with. Because when he was doing that, they had just started adding some decent, wrestlers on there. But man, now he could just chew so many people up. That'd be storylines for forever.
They ruined that story. They ruined him with Cena, like when he was Russo in WWE. I really thought he could have like WWE. I was thinking WWE champion. There's no way that he's not going to get there, and they completely just. And they worked him back up again with that Lana thing, and people were on his side. Or Rusev Day, no, when he was with
Rusev Day.
Who was that dude at Aiden English?
Right.
When he would sing before he'd come out, and the crowd got behind that, and they didn't push him. Like what are they doing, man?
Yeah, but I'm like we talked about earlier, and before you got on, like WWE. They just refuse to write good stories anymore, or let things like things that naturally happen, like keep it going and encourage it and feed into it. Like it's like if something happens that's not scripted to what they want to see happen, it doesn't happen. Like they just stop it from happening. They like shut it down, or they just pretend it doesn't like it even exist, or they take it and then they like bastardize it, do something totally different. So yeah, with AEW, they realized the whole the gamer thing, which I thought was lame with Miro. Like they finally were like, all right, we're done with this. This is not working. That might have been Miro's idea because he's a big time gamer. So they're like, yeah, go for that. That's fine. But it did not go over. Like it was stupid. And then he came back after he wrecked Kip Sabian. I'm like, here we go. And ever since then, he was like we talked about like a rocket ship and just took off. And then he got hurt, which we'll see. But yeah, he was definitely my favorite heel in AEW. Like when he went that direction, I was like, here we go. All right, And I didn't like that he lost to Sammy Guevara. I thought it wasn't. I thought he still had plenty of gas in the tank. as that kind of like just wrecking fools. So I was a little bit pissed off that they gave Sammy Guevara the title. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, Sammy Guevara is like 23 years old. Like, let Miro have let him have another 6 months or so with the title before you take it off of him.
Yeah, I agree.
So, anyways,
I was pumped for Miro when he came to AEW because
I would love to see. I don't know if this ever happened, but you might know this more than I did. Did Miro and Punk ever have matches together? Or Miro and Danielson, like banger matches, not like stupid like 3-minute matches.
I know Danielson and Miro did, in WWE, but I don't think Punk
and Miro never wrestled.
I don't think so. No.
I would love to see that match. I would love to see that. I like to see Miro also and Moxley match.
Yeah, I think after the whole Cena and Russo thing, it kind of died. Really, I mean, they kind of So
well, I'm looking forward to hopefully like when he comes back healthy.
I think Miro and Punk would definitely blow the roof off.
Because I think I would like to see Miro win that one, but I think also the whole CM Punk thing with his like, and I'm sure you follow the storylines that they're doing. Like a lot of the matches CM Punk's been wrestling is he changes his style per the wrestler he's wrestling.
Yeah.
So he switches it up. And so with Miro, you'd have to find a way to beat him because he's so powerful, So you have to find a way that's believable in said storyline that somebody that strong and that crazy and that powerful, how can you beat a guy like that, Wear him down, I'm assuming, all that kind of stuff. Wear him down, put him in holds, keep him on the mat, make sure he can't, get like any momentum going where he's like throwing you around like a rag doll like he does with everybody else. So that'd be kind of a cool thing to do. So I don't know, but I think Miro needs that kind of like push again because he got a good push, and then it kind of because I mean when he came and wrecked Darby Allin, it was like so believable because Darby Allin had the title for quite a while. Then Miro come on there, and you didn't think Miro was going to win. I honestly didn't think he was going to win. I thought he was going to get beat. Yeah, and when he beat Darby Allin, I was like, okay, here we go, and it didn't hurt Darby at all. Darby was not hurt by that. So
Darby's got too much, man. The dude's just. I mean, I don't know.
The one guy that I feel like is not being used, and he is showing up and playing. He is having like injected in some storylines, but he's such a great wrestler. And he's so big. Is Lance Archer?
Yeah.
Like I wish he was being used better. I wish he was more either like in a stable where he's like involved in a lot more storylines, or let him get a chance. Like he always gets a chance at like the title because like he just had one with Hangman Page in a heck of a match. He did the same thing with the TNT title a couple different times, but he's never he's never going to win it. And I'm like, dude, this guy's like 6'7", like, and he's like in great shape. I mean, he could probably, in like a real life scenario, beat almost everybody in there, like to death. And I'm like, and he keeps getting beat by everybody. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like he beats up on all these jobbers, which makes sense. But any kind of real match that he has to wrestle, going into it, he ain't winning.
Yeah.
So like when he beat Moxley for that the Japanese championship, I was totally shocked. I thought for sure he was. And then he dropped it the next week in Japan or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. Like even FTR's running around the AAA belts for like a year. It feels like 6 months. Like Lance Archer couldn't wear the belt from Japan more than a week, and he already dropped it somewhere. And I'm like, come on, man.
That's bull. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So it was just like, But anyways, well, hey, dude, I don't want to keep you. We're going on 2.5 hours, so we'll do this again sometime.
Heck yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, we'll try maybe me, you, and Joey. We'll try to set up, behind, off camera, maybe a weekend that works for us, or weekend in the evening where we can kind of do what we did here, but try to make it more regular. And that way we can talk about as stuff happens with the wrestling.
I got a lot of free time coming up, man. So just hit me up whenever you want to shoot the breeze, and I'm down. So
yeah, man, that'd be awesome, dude. We'll look forward to it. Well, I appreciate it doing it. It was all last minute.
Man.
Thanks, Otto. Thanks, Henry. Everybody who popped in. I really appreciate it, guys. And we'll do it again soon. Until then, peace.
Deuces.
Peace out.